Welcome to the Tactical Business Podcast. I am your host, Wade Skalsky, and today we'll be speaking with Henry Johns of Digital Crosshairs. Henry, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me this morning. Our company is Digital FOV, and we make a product called Digital Crosshairs.
Got it. Okay, perfect. Well, I'm excited to talk to you about it today. Before we get going on that, though, what I'd like to do is kind of learn a little bit about how you got into the space. How did you get into the two-way business?
Well, it was not planned. It's not something I set out really to do. I had owned an offshore software development company, doing software development for U.S. businesses out of Brazil. And back around, I guess, 2011, the banking industry crashed. And I was making making my money off arbitrage, the difference in the value of the Brazilian dollar and the US dollar. So when the banking industry crashed, the Brazilian dollar got very strong against the US dollar, and I could no longer afford to pay my developers and pretty much lost my business. So, oh well, what do you do? Well, I have a technology background. I've worked in tech for a long time. I'm a certified network engineer. I've been a software developer. So I started doing networking for small businesses, and I started doing installation of video surveillance systems, which was coming around back then. And people were starting to get lower cost video surveillance in their homes and small businesses. And these systems I was working with, they all had infrared night vision. At the same time, I'm a hunter. Um, I had one favorite uncle when I was growing up. When I go visit my grandmother, he'd come get me. If it was summer, we'd go out in the woods. He'd let his beagles chase rabbits, getting them ready for the fall. In the fall, we go rabbit hunting and deer hunting. And he really exposed me to hunting because hunting is kind of a heritage thing. With most people, if you're going to be a hunter, somebody in your family or a close friend brought you into it. Well, I was brought into it like that. So at the time, I was looking at a lot of people that wanted to do night vision, hog hunting, coyote hunting. And back then, the only thing you could really use was a very expensive thermal equipment. And we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars to get a low-end thermal, Generation 1 thermal scope. And nobody could afford that, not the average guy. So one day I got the idea, well, maybe I can take this digital night vision and attach it to my rifle scope. And I started looking around, and found there are a lot of people in Europe, a lot of these guys that were attaching cameras to their guns to do shoot pigeons and rats in the barns and stuff. But they're more hobbyist. And I looked at that whole situation and said, you know what? I think I can productize this. I think I can build a product from it. And I looked at it, um, and I started understanding the technology and building a prototype. And there are a couple of different pieces of it. One is taking the um, infrared camera and attaching it to a scope. So you got to build some type of easy system that anybody can put on any scope easily. But then the other piece of it is that with infrared technology, you got to have an infrared illuminator. And back in 2012, you couldn't go buy an LED flashlight that had infrared emitter on it. They didn't sell them. So if you're going to build this product, then you have to build the illuminator. So then I looked into that, and I started understanding how these were built, and found a company that sold infrared emitters. And I started building my own little, they call them a pill, that goes to the illuminator. That had an um, infrared diode on it. And that was a whole nother process because I didn't have a high tech lab to build these in. So then how do you build it? Well, I ended up building them, believe it or not, on my stovetop, and I got a a a, a laser thermometer because you had to bring the star up to a certain temperature in order to do the soldering on there. It's very kind of, I'm making it sound a little easier, but it's kind of difficult. But using the electric screw top, I could bring it up to that temperature and I could set that diode in there, and then I have my own emitters. Um, and then once I built those two things, I built some prototypes, a couple dozen of them, and I started doing gun shows. I went to all the gun shows around Georgia, taking my product and showing it to hunters and seeing what they thought about it. And then I started selling them. People started buying them because they wanted to go out and they wanted to do night vision hunting, and they couldn't afford these expensive thermal scopes. But with my product, at that time, they could see about 150 yards in total darkness. And they were, oh, this is great. But going to the shows, people started using it and giving me feedback. Um, I even had a couple of them. I called a couple of outfitters in South Georgia, and I told them about my product, and they were real hesitant about it. And to my surprise, they said, "Come on down here and show it to me." Because back then, a lot of them were using green lights and red lights to hunt at night. Because they said animals were sensitive to red and green light at night. So that's how back then people were doing night vision hunting. They used red lights and these real powerful flashlights, red and green. I went down there, a couple of outfitters invited me to come down. They put me up at these nice places and took me out hunting with my product and let me test it out. And it gave me feedback on it. But by reaching out to them and then coming back and kind of partnering with me, they helped me build a better product. So what I did is I gave them my product. They got to use it. And in return, they gave me feedback to help me build a better product, and they let me go down there and hunt for free because I didn't have any place to hunt and test out my product. So that was the way I really evolved my product into a good quality product. And that's kind of how I got started.
How long did that process take you from the time that you had the idea to the time where you actually had a product that you could sell?
It didn't actually take that long. I mean, to have the basic prototype took me about maybe I'll say 3 months. But I'm kind of lucky or blessed that I went to a good high school in New Jersey. And I went to high school back in the 70s. So you're a little about my age. Back in the 70s, where they had vocational schools. So my school was half vocational and half college prep, and I took advantage of both. We had electronics. I learned more about electronics in high school than most kids that are graduating for a degree in electronics today. We had a wood shop. We had a metal shop. Um, we had an auto shop with a real garage. So I learned a lot about electronics in high school, is soldering, using different meters, a lot about it did help me out with this process. So with that kind of background, I didn't have to go and hire electrical engineers. I didn't have to go hire people to come in and help me do that. Also, my background in technology, I managed web development groups. At one point, I was corporate director of web development for a global conglomerate. So building my website wasn't something I had to go spend money on. So I was able to kind of do that myself and hire some offshore people and direct them in doing that. So I kind of had a good foundation that helped me build this rather quickly.
So once you had the
The
product,
other thing I did is that I invested in my idea.
go ahead. No, and I just wanted to find out what, after you sort of had the prototype and you said you invested in your idea, what did that look like? And then what was your initial marketing strategy?
once I have my basic prototype, I said that I need to have suppliers. And most of these parts are made in China. Um, so I got on a plane and I went to a electronics expo in China. Huge. This thing was huge. They had this whole giant convention center. They had manufacturers from all over China there that built all kind of things. So I got to talk with some of the battery manufacturers at that time, some of the people that manufactured the CMOS boards that I used that I use today. Um, some of them gave me insights on the different things that were coming down the road and actually gave me some ideas. So, I think when you're, one thing a lot of people don't do is just if you have that idea, go out and spend some time and learn about it. But that trip was very helpful. The other thing I learned with that trip is that while I was over there, they had seminars for US manufacturers that want to do business in China. And one of the key things they told us is that you should not hire one company to manufacture your product because China is a communist country and they don't really believe in um, copyright protection or anything like that. In a communist country, if one person builds a great widget, then everybody builds it the same way. And that's how they think about it. So they recommended that you get your batteries from one manufacturer, you get your lenses from another manufacturer, you get your different parts from different manufacturers, ship them back, and then have them assembled at home. And that's what we do. Um, so we get different companies to build the different parts, and then we assemble it here.
I think that's a really wise strategy. I've heard horror stories of people having Chinese companies make their products, and then all of a sudden, a cheaper version shows up on Amazon that's the exact same thing, manufactured by the same people who are making it for you at the same time.
Yeah, I've actually had Chinese companies contact me and tell me that they're making a certain type of product and they think I could use it. You say we designed this with another company and they think you could use it. So that's kind of how you really have to kind of protect yourself if you're manufacturing over there, especially if you're a small guy. Um, and personally, um, I know a lot of people would disagree with me, but um, I'm not a really big fan of patents. I looked into patents when I was early on. 'Cause everybody says you should patent your product, patent your idea, and there's probably some parts of my product that I could get a patent on, but patents are very expensive. If you get a patent, you have to be able to protect it in every country. If I get a patent in the US, someone can still manufacture it and sell it in Canada. I got to get a patent in Canada. If someone in the UK wants to manufacture it and copy it, they can, unless you get a patent in each European country. There's no UK patent. So to me, the cost of the patent process was better put into marketing. And the thing you want to protect is your manufacturing process because that's the hardest part to duplicate. Who your suppliers are, how you actually are manufacturing your product. I think that's the part you really want to protect. You don't want someone to steal. And that may not be true of every industry, but for mine, I thought it was. And one of the reasons I thought so is that with infrared night vision, I did not see it as a technology that was going to be around for 20 years. You know, technology changes constantly. It's always something better. So I felt like if I went and tried to lock down this technology, which a lot of it I didn't own anyway, the only thing I could really patent was the way I put it together, that eventually someone's going to do it better. So way to grow my business was to invest in marketing and also customer service. And also in my business, I'm selling mostly to people in rural communities. They tend to be very, very brand loyal. Okay. So if they buy Chevys, they don't buy Chevys. If they buy Fords, they don't buy Fords. They tend to be very brand loyal. So we put our customers number one. If someone has a problem with our product and they want to send it back, sometimes we'll say, send it back and we're going to send you the replacement part right now. Because we understand that, if it's hunting season, and your product that you're depending on a hunt with breaks, then you're going to miss some opportunities. And if you got a hunting trip coming up that you planned for months, and now you're going to miss it, no. If one of our products fails, we don't get a lot of failures, but we do everything we can to keep our customers satisfied and make them feel like we're here to support them. We say you don't have to call China or Taiwan or California. You call us right here in Stone Mountain, Georgia, and we put your customer service first. And that's built a lot of customer loyalty for us.
That is one through line that everyone that I talk to on this show, and then we talk about their businesses, is customer service. Is that is a number one non-negotiable way that you have to have a successful business. Let's talk a little bit about the marketing. What marketing channels did you start with? Are you still using those channels? Like, what is sort of your strategy?
That's a real interesting question. Um, at first, the marketing channel was get on the road, go to as many gun shows as possible. Then we started doing outdoor expos. Then we started doing the Great American Outdoor Show up in Harrisburg in February, but it was packed always. Get on the road to show the product because we can't use Facebook, we can't use Google. The social media platform typically will not let you advertise anything that's associated with a gun. And I've had these conversations with them. I said, my product is not a weapon. It just attaches to a rifle scope. And they say, no, if it attaches to a gun, you can't advertise it on Facebook. So they shut me down with the social media. And advertising is very expensive. So we just got on the road and started doing a bunch of shows and getting the word out that way. And then what happened? COVID. COVID happened. COVID shut down all the gun shows. It shut down the Great American Outdoor Show. Okay, there were no more shows to do. So what do you do if that's your main form of marketing and sales? So we fell back to um, internet marketing, building our website, and finding other ways to market it over the web other than using social media. And that ended up really shifting um, my product pretty much quite a bit. When I was doing gun shows, I would have people come up to me and I'm selling a night vision clip-on product. I'm trying to sell to high hunters and coyote hunters, saying, hey, look, you can use this, you can see 200, 300 yards in total darkness. I had people come up to me and say, my dad is losing his vision and he stopped hunting. He can hunt with this because all he has to do is look at the screen and he can target with this. Or they'll say, my son, he has very poor eyesight. I really want to take him hunting with me. I think he can hunt with this. Or they say, one guy came to a Great American Outdoor Show just to see me. He's a paraplegic and he had found a product on the internet. He came up, he was just smiling, and they mounted this to his chair so he can target by looking at a screen because he can't bend over and look through a scope. And I had these people at these shows coming up to me telling me about this adaptive market opportunity. And and I was just like, well, in my mind, my focus was on this night vision. But once I started selling it more on the internet, I got more people saying it that really wanted to use it as an adaptive tool to enable low vision, assisted blind. Yeah, blind people like to hunt too, believe it or not. And mobility limited people could go back and re-engage in the sport they had a passion for. Some guys lost an eye, so he can no longer look through a scope. He lost his eye. So he thought he had to give up his passion for hunting. And he sees my product. He said, oh, this is really great. I can hunt with this. So once COVID hit and I started marketing on the internet, then all of this adaptive, all these people that really needed this product started reaching out to me. And then, one thing about them, tell you, they would get the product and then they would call me up and they would say, Henry, thank you for making this product. I can enjoy hunting again. I thought I could never hunt again. I can go shooting again. I got one Marine in Texas that he didn't, and this is the case a lot of times with my product. A lot of disabled people, they don't buy it. Their friends and relatives buy it because they miss them. I got one guy in Texas, he's a Marine. His friends used to take him to the lodge with him. He's totally blind. His friends used to take him to the lodge with him to go hunting. And he said, Henry, I used to just have to sit in the lodge and wait for him. And I could help cook and stuff when they got back. And they went and brought your product for me. They took him to the range. And with my product, with an assisted blind person, there's a spotter that can look at the screen and tell them how to aim, but they hold the gun themselves. And they used the product. And he went out and shot a deer for the first time in 14 years. And he called me up and thanked me. I had people call me up and thank me for the product because they said my husband, he just loved to go turkey hunting. He came home so disappointed last weekend. He missed a turkey at 30 yards because he's got just age-related low vision, retinal degeneration. So when people get older, they can no longer see through a scope anymore. With this product, now all of a sudden they can continue to hunt and shoot. And they'll actually call me up and thank me for it, which, I've never sold a product before where that happened. This Marine, he turned me on. He told me how the VA works. Talk about marketing. We started talking about the VA and look into it. The VA buys adaptive recreational equipment for disabled veterans. It's part of their benefits package. I did a lot of research on that. I spent about 3 years convincing the VA that recreational hunting and shooting was a good activity for veterans because they did not want to give a veteran anything related to a gun. They said veterans have a very high suicide rate. We can't give them a gun. Today, I'm a registered vendor with 9 VA hospitals, and this product is issued to low vision and assisted blind veterans because they understand now how hunting and shooting sports are actually good for disabled people. It gets them out of the house with their friends and relatives, doing an activity that it's not like going out and playing tennis or something. You go play and you're done. For hunting activity, you plan for it, you get your gear together, you go on a trip, you harvest something, you come back, you have a meal with your family and friends, and you enjoy it, and then you talk about the memories. So that activity is a long-term activity that they get out of one trip that this supports. So I'm really pleased that I've been able to get more and more VA hospitals now to issue the product to veterans.
That's a great lesson about getting feedback from the market and having sort of this hidden benefit that you didn't even think of that kind of expanded your whole product base. So what's the plan over the next 5 years? Are you going to do more of the same? Are you looking to expand more into the adaptive side of things? What's your plan?
That's an interesting question. Um, I have a lot of nonprofits that buy my product and they take disabled children and adults out shooting. And one of the reasons why they really like my product is they spend a lot of time putting together these nice trips. And the person will go out that doesn't hunt and they'll miss. With my product, it's so accurate that they don't miss. There's this one video out there. with a pop car racking up dreams outdoors. And he got a video of a young disabled young woman that shot a deer at 250 yards from my product. Because one thing about it is that it's a clip on. It attaches to the eyepiece of a rifle scope, looks down the barrel of the scope, and shows you the scope's field of view and reticle from the most optimal eye position. So it takes a lot of the skill out of shooting with a scope. There's no more parallax in there from having your eye in the wrong position. So I'm saying that to answer your question, one of our next markets we're going after is tactical shooters, SWAT teams, police forces, and sell this as something where you can take the average marksman and you can increase his ability to shoot by hundreds of percent because you're taking a lot of skill out of shooting. Basically, if you have a sighted in rifle, you're not going to miss. And an average person can do this. So one of the things we're going to be doing next is marketing the product as a tactical device as well. And we also have the capability with our product to transmit the view from the scope up to a mile away. So you can have SWAT teams on top of a building, and you can have the command center down on the street, and they see everything that the shooter sees in real time. There's no delay. So that's one of the markets we're going to be moving after is trying to educate SWAT teams and police forces that this product is a good tactical product as well. When you have SWAT teams that are doing stakeouts and they have to sit on rooftops for hours looking through a scope, there's a lot of um, you can't do it for so long. But with our product, you're looking at a screen. You can sit there for hours and look at the screen. You know, so that's one of the things we're going to be going after next.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I love seeing the sort of the evolution of the business, right? And as the business starts to kind of stack on top of each other, each new line. And then are you continuing to do gun shows or are you now focused more on that sort of like B2B, right? So that you're going more towards direct outreach to organizations. Are you still looking for to expand your consumer base as well?
Well, actually, um, we don't do any business to business. We do business to nonprofits, and we hope to do business. We do business to nonprofits. We do business to the government, but we also do business to consumer. All of our sales are direct to consumers. We don't sell through Amazon or through Walmart or to Cabela's or any of those big box stores. And there's several reasons for that. We had talked with some of them years ago, and the number one thing out of my research that they want us to do is move our development offshore because they have a lot of capability offshore to manufacture my product a lot cheaper. Just to move it offshore. And then the other thing is they want to increase your price 30%. Um, and we don't want to do that either. And then as far as customer support, if we did it at that scale, then we feel like we lose some of our connection with our customers, which we don't want to do. So reaching out to new profits works well for us, and to the VA works well for us in direct sales to customers because we get a lot of referrals from customers. They tell their friends about it, and they tell their friends, "Hey, call Henry," you know, or you call them up. They take good care of you. So that's kind of the way we're looking at it.
Yeah, I like how you have navigated a lot of these landmines, right? Because if you go through Cabela's, then you've got you have to worry about, the middleman pricing, and you lose control of your customer service. If you sell on Amazon, then you're going to have a knockoff product that's going to appear next to your product within a week, right? So I think
Yeah.
keeping everything in-house and then just focusing on that direct to consumer market has opened up all these opportunities for you to have you grow you maybe aren't scaling as fast as you want, but you are building a stable business day after day. You're investing in your business with your time, and building a stable business.
Yes. Yes.
Now, you're located in Georgia, and I mean, are you having any plans on expanding any of your production capabilities out of state, or expanding? I mean, do you have like a facility, or is it something that you kind of just do out of your home? Like, I don't know the scale that we're talking about for the products that you're moving right now. Walk me through the manufacturing logistics just a little bit.
Um, we don't really talk a lot about our manufacturing for reasons I just mentioned to you earlier, but a lot of our stuff is done by subcontractors that assemble components. Like we have a very good wiring subcontractor out in Kentucky, and he builds our wiring harnesses for us, and ships them here. So that's kind of our model, is to outsource a lot of the different pieces and then just do the assembly at one assembly and shipping and sales out of one location.
Well, and that's a good lesson too on the manufacturing side is that, we've interviewed a lot of people that they do everything in-house, okay? And that's great if you have the capital to be able to invest in a large facility and in the labor and all that. But I think your model, I think people should consider sort of that subcontract assembly model, for certain things, because you've shown that for something that's highly technical, for something that's pretty complicated, that it can be done. So, if you've got something that's simpler than what you guys have, it definitely can be done.
Yeah, yeah. And they can do it like with the wiring harness. They can do it a lot um better than I can. And they have the testing capabilities because that's what they do. So I don't have to worry. I used to have some defective wiring harnesses um, because I hired people to do the build up harnesses myself. Um, and when I outsourced it to them, they have all the testing capabilities. So every wiring harness is tested before they ship it back to me. So I have pretty much zero failures in my wiring harnesses by doing it that way, because that's what they do. And I was very fortunate to find them. I went to one of these trade shows, manufacturing trade shows, and I was talking to some companies that build wiring harnesses. Um, and they basically said, well, um, your volume is too low for us. We need to be building 10,000 or more units. But they referred me to a manufacturer that they used to build their custom harnesses. So that's what I ended up using. So one of the things I recommend to people to do is you got to get out and you got to talk to people. You got to go to these manufacturing trade shows and just go around and talk to the different vendors and tell them what you're trying to do. And a lot of them are real friendly. They'll give you ideas. Oh, Henry, then you won't go that way, but you should go this way. Or say, well, you might not want to have a mold built for that piece. Maybe you need to go find something that you can reuse that's already being built, because building a mold is very expensive.
Yeah, and I think that's a great lesson is that, we live in an internet age and everyone wants to do everything from their own location. But when you're just starting out, travel is a very inexpensive way to make connections. and it's a very inexpensive way to be able to sort of exponentially grow your relationships, and you may have that relationship that may be a pivot point for your business. And so,
Yeah,
you know,
the other point is that you need to talk to your suppliers, because like my chip manufacturers, the manufacturer that makes my CMOS boards, I have a good relationship with them, and they tell me when new chips are coming out, and they give me advice on which ones to use, because that's their business. That's what they do. They're right in tune with that. So it's good to have a good working relationship with your vendors. Don't look at them as more business partners than just someone you buy a part from. Because a lot of times, like my lens manufacturer, you come out, hey Henry, we got a new lens that's better than this. You should try this one and send me some samples. So you need to be talking to your manufacturers and understanding that, they're people just like you. Treat them like people, not like just business that you're doing business with, and talk to them. Because a lot of times they can be that consultant on the side you didn't know you had.
yeah, I think that's very sound advice, and you never know what one conversation will have with regards to changing sort of your business model or changing a line of products. So Henry, I've really enjoyed talking with you today. How do people find you? What's the website where they can check out your product? And yeah, and then I'd love to have you on the show again. How can people find you?
Well, my website is digitalcrosshairs.net. And we also have another website called adaptivehunters.com. So either one of those, and all my information is there. Um, so feel free to drop me an email. My email is henry@digitalcrosshairs.com.
That's great, Henry. Well, listen, I've really enjoyed chatting with you today, and I'd love to have you on the show again in a few months and just see how everything is going and see what you're working on.
All right, thanks. And thanks for the opportunity to talk with you today. Have a great day.